Welcome to our PoM podcast for mindfulness and tolerance, and for relaxing your mind. Today's new release of Season 1, Episode 11, presents to you on the International Day for Tolerance, a conversation on embracing diversity with mindfulness. With our moderators, Robert and Joanna, we take a closer look at this global event for promoting more tolerance in our societies.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to do a deep dive into something I know you've been curious about.
Oh, yeah.
The International Day for Tolerance.
Okay.
It's November 16th.
Fitting.
Yeah, feels especially fitting, right?
Yeah, definitely. And it's really interesting that you want to explore this.
Yeah.
Beyond just knowing that it exists.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're going to uncover its history.
Okay.
The role of organizations like the UN, UNESCO, and UNICEF, and even explore how mindfulness can play a part.
I've got to admit, the mindfulness connection, that was a surprise to me when I saw that.
Yeah.
But before we get too zen,
Right.
let's start with the basics.
Okay.
What exactly is the International Day for Tolerance all about? What's it for?
Well, it's not just a day for posting inspiring quotes on social media.
Right,
It's
yeah.
a call to action.
Okay.
A reminder that tolerance is the cornerstone of a peaceful and inclusive world.
Right.
And it's a fundamental human right
Oh, wow.
enshrined in international laws and declarations.
Okay, so it's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, it is.
But you know what? I feel like the word tolerance gets thrown around a lot.
Sure.
So what does it actually mean in this context? In this context of the International Day for Tolerance?
You're right.
Yeah.
It's more than just putting up with people we disagree with.
Right.
True tolerance is about actively embracing and celebrating the richness that diversity brings to society.
Right.
It's about recognizing that our differences in cultures, beliefs, perspectives
Yeah.
are a source of strength, not division.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But how do we go from simply acknowledging diversity to genuinely embracing it?
Yeah.
Because let's be real, sometimes those differences
Right.
can lead to conflict and tension.
Absolutely. And that's where mindfulness comes in.
Okay.
It might seem unexpected,
Yeah.
but mindfulness can be a powerful tool for building tolerance.
Okay, I'm intrigued. How does being mindful actually make us more tolerant?
Think about it this way.
Okay.
Mindfulness encourages self-awareness. It helps us become more aware of our own thoughts, feelings, and reactions,
Okay.
including those unconscious biases we all carry.
Right, we all have those.
Yeah.
So instead of reacting defensively to someone who's different,
Uh-huh.
mindfulness could help us pause and actually listen.
Exactly. And there's a fascinating story about Janet Alston Jackson,
Oh, okay.
a mindfulness practitioner who was deeply affected by racism in the 90s.
Okay.
Through mindfulness, she learned to observe her anger and hurt without judgment,
Okay.
which eventually allowed those feelings to dissolve.
Wow. So it's not about suppressing negative emotion,
No.
but understanding where they come from.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Janet's story shows how mindfulness can help us break free from those automatic reactions
Really?
and create space for empathy and understanding.
Right.
And it's not just anecdotal evidence.
Oh,
Research shows that mindfulness training can actually reduce implicit bias.
that's pretty powerful stuff.
It is.
But mindfulness can feel kind of abstract.
Sure, I get that.
What are some tangible ways we can use it to cultivate more tolerance in our daily lives?
One technique is identifying your triggers,
Okay.
those situations, or even internal thoughts
Oh, well,
that spark feelings of intolerance.
right.
Once you're aware of your triggers,
Yes.
you can start to anticipate them and choose a different response.
Okay, so it's like knowing your weaknesses so you can work on them, right?
Exactly.
What are some other techniques we can use?
Another powerful one is focusing on acceptance over understanding.
Okay.
Leadership coach Dermister Roy shared a great point on LinkedIn about this.
Okay.
Sometimes you don't need to fully grasp someone's viewpoint to accept that it's valid for them.
Yeah, I like that.
Just acknowledging that can be a huge step toward tolerance.
Takes the pressure off needing to always agree or understand perfectly.
Exactly. And another technique involves silencing that inner voice
Oh, okay.
that constantly judges and criticizes.
Right.
As consultant Aslihan Turhan mentioned on LinkedIn, we often formulate responses in our heads before the other person even finishes talking.
Oh, I'm definitely guilty of that.
Yeah.
So it's about really tuning in to what someone is saying without that internal commentary running in the background.
You've got it.
Okay.
And finally, mindfulness can help us respond to challenging situations with more patience and understanding.
Okay.
It allows us to stay present even when faced with conflict
Right.
and find constructive solutions instead of reacting impulsively.
So mindfulness isn't just about inner peace.
Right.
It can equip us to deal with the messiness of the real world in a more tolerant way.
It really can.
Yeah.
Now, while individual mindfulness practices are important,
Okay.
let's zoom out
Okay.
and consider the role of education in fostering tolerance on a larger scale.
Right, that makes sense.
What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, education plays a vital role, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
It has the power to shape young minds.
Yeah, absolutely.
And instill values of tolerance and respect from an early age.
For sure.
It's like planting seeds for a more inclusive future, right?
Exactly.
But how do we make sure education systems are actually promoting tolerance effectively?
Well, one crucial step is diversifying curricula.
Yo.
Instead of relying solely on traditional, often Eurocentric narratives,
Right.
we need to incorporate diverse voices and experiences representing different cultures, ethnicities, and perspectives.
It's about making sure history is taught from multiple angles.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Showing the richness and complexity of the human story, right?
Yes, exactly.
And it's not just about the content itself.
Oh.
Creating inclusive learning environments is equally important.
So what does that look like in practice?
It means fostering a school culture that values respect for all and celebrates differences.
Okay.
It also involves training teachers on diversity and inclusion, equipping them with the skills to create welcoming and supportive classrooms for every student.
I can see how that would make a huge difference.
Yeah.
When students feel safe and respected, they're more likely to be open to others who are different from them.
Precisely. And speaking of initiatives that directly address tolerance,
Yeah.
remember that Erasmus Plus program we touched upon earlier?
Oh, right.
Mindfulness for Tolerance.
The one designed for youth workers, yeah.
Exactly.
Tell me more about how it works.
Well, it uses mindfulness techniques to help youth workers promote tolerance and intercultural understanding among young people.
Okay.
It covers topics like recognizing stereotypes and prejudice,
Uh-huh.
becoming more aware of automatic mental processes,
Right.
and cultivating empathy and compassion.
That sounds incredibly valuable.
Yeah.
And it's not just about individual efforts or even educational programs, right?
Right.
There are also international organizations working to promote tolerance on a global scale, right?
Absolutely. Organizations like the UN, UNESCO, and UNICEF play crucial roles in this effort.
Okay.
They address global issues related to intolerance, like racism and discrimination. And they work tirelessly to promote education and understanding across cultures.
Okay, the UN's involvement makes sense, but how do UNESCO and UNICEF fit into the picture?
Well, UNESCO focuses on education, science, and culture as tools for building peace and understanding.
Okay, so they're tackling tolerance from multiple angles.
Exactly.
What about UNICEF?
UNICEF focuses on protecting the rights of children around the world,
Okay.
which includes their right to live in a tolerant and inclusive environment.
It sounds like there's a whole network of organizations working towards this common goal.
There is.
What are some of the concrete actions they're taking?
The UN, for example, uses its Indico platform to help organize events and initiatives related to the International Day for Tolerance. It acts as a central hub for collaboration and knowledge sharing among individuals and organizations dedicated to this cause.
That's a great way to amplify the message of tolerance and connect people from all over the world.
It is. And then you have governments in different regions implementing specific initiatives and campaigns to combat intolerance.
I'm really curious about those.
Yeah.
What are some examples of what's being done, say, in the U.S.?
In the U.S., there are various programs focusing on promoting tolerance and diversity,
Okay.
often within the Department of Education, the Department of Justice,
Okay.
and even at the community level with funding from federal agencies.
So it's a multi-pronged approach,
Right.
working at different levels of society.
Yes.
What kinds of things are they doing specifically?
For instance, within education, they're promoting diversity in curricula,
Yeah.
providing training for teachers on inclusivity,
Uh-huh.
and funding programs that encourage intercultural dialogue among students.
It sounds like they're trying to weave tolerance into the very fabric of the education system.
Exactly. And on the justice front,
Yeah.
the Department of Justice focuses on enforcing anti-discrimination laws, investigating hate crimes,
Okay.
and supporting community-based conflict resolution programs.
So it's about both prevention and addressing the consequences of intolerance.
It is.
What about across the pond? What's the EU doing?
The EU has a robust framework for protecting fundamental rights, including the right to freedom from discrimination.
Right.
They've implemented directives to combat discrimination based on race, ethnicity, religion, sexual orientation, and disability.
So they're setting legal standards for tolerance across all member states.
They are.
Are there any other noteworthy initiatives in the EU?
They also fund various programs through the European Commission that promote intercultural dialogue, support minority groups, and combat hate speech.
That's impressive. And what about in other parts of the world, like Asia? What are they doing to promote tolerance?
Asia is incredibly diverse.
Right.
So approaches vary.
Okay.
Some countries focus on interfaith dialogue, particularly where religious tensions exist. Others prioritize cultural exchange programs, encouraging people from different backgrounds to learn about and appreciate each other's cultures.
It sounds like they're building bridges through shared experiences.
That's the idea. And there's a growing awareness across Asia about the importance of inclusivity in education systems.
So it seems like there's a global movement taking shape,
Yeah.
with different regions adapting the concept of tolerance to their unique contexts and needs.
You got it.
But despite these efforts,
Yeah.
we can't ignore the harsh reality that intolerance is still a significant problem worldwide.
Sadly, it is.
It's disheartening, but true.
Yeah.
What are some of the most prominent forms of intolerance we see today?
Sadly, there are many.
Yeah.
Racism, religious discrimination, prejudice based on ethnicity, sexual orientation, and disability, just to name a few.
It's a long list.
It is.
And we can't forget about the alarming statistic from International Day for Tolerance, November 16th, 2024, National Today,
Right.
which states that 50% of hate crimes in the U.S. are committed by people between 15 and 24 years old.
Wow.
That's a shockingly young demographic.
Yeah.
It really underscores the need for early intervention and education, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. Addressing intolerance at its roots and teaching young people about respect and understanding is crucial.
Right.
And we can't forget about protecting those who are often the targets of intolerance.
Right.
Vulnerable groups like children, people with disabilities, and minorities.
They need our support and protection to ensure their safety and well-being.
Absolutely.
It's clear that there's still a lot of work to be done.
Yeah.
But in the face of these challenges, I think it's important to remember that we, as individuals, have the power to make a difference.
I completely agree.
Every act of tolerance, no matter how small, contributes to a more inclusive and compassionate world.
That's a powerful thought.
So with all that we've learned about tolerance, where do we go from here?
Yeah.
How do we translate this knowledge into action and create a world where understanding and acceptance prevail?
That's the question, isn't it?
It is. It is.
It's about moving beyond awareness and taking concrete steps to build a more tolerant and inclusive world.
It sounds like a call to action.
It is.
What can I, as an individual, do to contribute to this? I'm ready to move beyond just talking about tolerance.
It starts with each of us.
Okay.
I'd encourage you to reflect on your own biases and prejudices.
Okay.
We all have them.
Right.
The key is recognizing them and actively working to challenge them.
So it's about being honest with ourselves and doing the inner work.
Exactly.
But where do I even begin with that?
That inner work can involve educating yourself about different cultures and perspectives.
Okay.
Maybe try reading books by authors from different backgrounds.
Uh,
Or watch documentaries that challenge your worldview.
those are great ideas. What else can I do?
Engage in open and honest conversations with people who are different from you.
Okay.
It can be as simple as striking up a conversation with a neighbor from a different cultural background
Okay.
or attending events that celebrate diversity.
I can see how stepping outside my comfort zone could lead to some valuable learning experiences.
And don't forget the power of empathy and compassion. When you encounter someone with different views,
Yeah.
try to understand their perspective and where they're coming from, even if you don't agree.
It's about building bridges instead of walls, right?
Exactly.
But sometimes it feels like these individual actions are just a drop in the ocean.
Yeah.
How can I make a real impact?
Remember, even small actions can create a ripple effect.
Okay.
Don't underestimate the power of your voice and your choices.
Right.
Speak up against intolerance when you see it, even in seemingly insignificant ways.
Yeah.
Be an ally to marginalized groups and support organizations working to promote tolerance and inclusivity.
So it's about using our individual power to contribute to collective change.
Exactly.
It feels empowering to know that I could be part of the solution.
It is empowering.
This deep dive has given me a lot to think about and some concrete steps I can take to be a more active advocate for tolerance.
That's great.
I especially appreciate learning about those practical mindfulness techniques.
I'm glad to hear that. Remember, creating a more tolerant world isn't just a lofty ideal, it's a necessity.
Right.
It's the foundation for a more peaceful, just, and equitable society for everyone.
And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive.
Okay.
We've covered a lot of ground today,
We have.
but there's always more to learn and explore.
That's true.
I encourage you to keep researching and engaging with these topics
Yeah,
and to find ways to promote tolerance and understanding within your own community.
absolutely.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the International Day for Tolerance.
Thanks for having me.
We hope you've gained some new insights and are inspired to create a more tolerant world.
Until next time.
Thank you for watching and listening. We hope you found your inner peace with our podcast. Keep yourself updated and join us on our next episode. Stay safe and healthy, and have a good day. See you soon.